The whole gang is over at my brother-in-law Tim's ranch working calves today. It is a huge morning of work and the whole family is pitching in. Since they're going to be working hard all morning, I'm going to take them a big lunch. I'm going to start by getting 2 dump cakes in the oven. I love dump cakes. They're an old recipe, always a crowd pleaser, and the ingredients are so easy. Now I'm gonna make 2 varieties of dump cake. The first one is cherry pineapple. So that starts with a big can of cherry pie filling, nice and bright red and sweet. And then a can of crushed pineapple. It's a little bit of an unusual combination, but this is a classic dump cake recipe, and it is so delicious after it bakes. Okay, I got that all mixed together and spread out evenly. So now I grabbed cake mix, another essential component to a dump cake. That's what makes it so easy. This is a white cake mix, and I'll just sprinkle it all over the surface of the fruit. You can use absolutely any kind of cake mix you want. I've used the cherry pie filling before with chocolate cake mix. Oh boy, is that good. Okay, now I'll just get it all covered, make sure there's no fruit showing, and now I'll move forward with the second variety, which is even simpler than the first. I've got a big can of sliced peaches in syrup, and the whole thing goes into the pan. It looks like a lot of liquid, and it is, but the cake pretty much absorbs it all. Now, for the cake mix for this one, I'm using yellow cake mix. There's absolutely no rhyme or reason to what kind of cake mix you use with the fruit. It's just a matter of what you have in your pantry. It's pretty much 6 of one, half dozen of the other. It still winds up delicious. All right, I'll make sure it's totally covered. Okay, now I'll just spread the cake mix around. Now, the thing that makes all of this make sense, I cut 3 sticks of cold butter into pieces, and I just lay the pieces of butter all over the surface of the cake mix. This is an incredibly decadent cake. I don't know if you've noticed that by now. There is nothing redeeming about it. The name is hilarious, the ingredients are simple, and I'm proud every time I make one. The great thing about dump cakes is they are so rich that a little goes a long way. And since I'm feeding a crowd today, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Okay, got all the butter on. I think that's probably enough butter. So I'll just get these in the oven. They need to bake at 350 degrees for about 45 minutes to an hour until they're nice and hot and bubbly and golden. All right, guys, when you're ready for dessert, I've got dump cake, 2 different kinds. Of course, he's first in line for dessert.
Todd, did you even eat any real food?
Yes, sir.
This is peach and this is cherry pineapple.
Amazing.
And we need an adult supervision on the whipped cream.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Adult supervision, you said.
Alex! You cannot trust the kids with a can of whipped cream. In the summertime, I love getting invited to cookouts, especially when the cookouts are potluck style. Everybody brings a dish, and it's always fun to see kind of the variety that you wind up getting. Well, I'm gonna share some of my favorite cookout potluck recipes, starting with a blueberry crisp dump cake. It's kind of the best of both worlds. It's a blueberry crisp and a dump cake, and it is so amazing, and you're not gonna believe how easy it is. I started by spreading a can of blueberry pie filling into the bottom of this baking dish. And since I'm using canned pie filling, I'm gonna kinda spike it with some fresh blueberries. So again, you get the best of both worlds. Okay, and I'm gonna save some back and use some more in a second. Now, just in case you missed the memo about dump cakes use boxed cake mix. And it's kind of like a fruit cobbler when it's all said and done. I am using a vanilla cake mix, but once you start making dump cakes, you'll realize that there is no end to the varieties you can make. I always think a vanilla or yellow cake mix is so good for a fruit cobbler, but I've done spice cake versions, I've done chocolate cake versions. The list goes on, and they're so much fun. Okay, now what's important now is that you not stir it together. I'm just gonna keep it dry and spread it so that it's in an even layer. And already that pie filling is kind of starting to get sucked into that cake mix. Alrighty, so the first thing you do is take 12 tablespoons of butter. I'm just gonna warn you, this is a buttery, buttery proposition. And you can cut them into small pieces if you want, but I just like to leave them in big chunks. But the beauty of any dump cake is this layer of butter on top. And again, you don't wanna mix it in, just leave it as is. And then I told you I'd sprinkle on the rest of the blueberries. So I'll add the rest of these here. And then you kind of get blueberries on the various layers. All right, now I'll scoot that over and I am going to make a crisp topping just like I would make for any fruit crisp. And that's just a classic combo of flour, brown sugar, and oats, and then more butter. A little bit shocking the amount of butter that's in this. But the thing is, this dump cake is so rich and a little goes a long way. Oh, a couple more ingredients. A little bit of baking soda and a little bit of baking powder. And then I'm gonna go ahead and add some salt. And I'm gonna grab my pastry cutter and just cut this mixture together. I would use this same crisp topping if I was making any sort of blueberry crisp or apple crisp, which by the way are amazing summertime treats. Okay, so you want to keep cutting this mixture together until you don't see any more of the flour, and it all looks perfect to me. So this little crisp topping just goes all over the top of the blueberry dump cake. Don't want to leave any of that in there. When I was a little girl, my mom used to make fruit crisps, and I don't know why, but I would just eat the crisp. And so like I'd go and scrape crisp topping off into a bowl. It was like a really nice oatmeal cookie. My mom would walk into the kitchen and be like, Ree! Thank you for listening. I just wanted to share that moment from my childhood. I also used to get her fresh bread that she pulled out of the oven and like reach under the crust and pull the soft bread out. I'm gonna stop now. I have so many stories about my oddities as a child. Okay, this is all over in an even layer, so I'm gonna put it into a 375-degree oven, and it's gonna bake for about 45 minutes, and then I'll take it out and let it cool. The dump cake is out of the oven. It looks amazing. I let it sit and cool for a while. You never want to pull a dump cake out of the oven and serve it right away because it kind of needs to settle in. The filling needs to kind of thicken a little bit and it'll be really messy and too hot to eat anyway. So it's still warm, but really, really nice. So I want to serve this. Normally I would cover it with foil and take it to my destination, but I really want you to feast your eyes on this gorgeous cake. Lots of crisp topping, just the way I liked it as a little girl, but it kind of just falls apart when you put it on the plate and you can see kind of that bright purple blueberry pie filling and then those fresh blueberries that kind of burst open. Now, if I was taking this with me, I would usually take along some whipped cream. I'll either whip it fresh like I did here, or you can just take a can of like canned whipped cream. Of course, dump cake is also wonderful with any flavor of ice cream. So you could do like strawberry ice cream and embrace the berry side of things. My, oh me, oh my. Look at this. I love the texture, I love the flavor, I love that it's just slightly warm, so delicious and very vintage. I cannot wait for dessert. It's ice cream cake and it's gonna really hit the spot after everybody's been hauling hay. It's got a lot of great shortcuts, so it's not hard to make at all. I started with a frozen store-bought pound cake, and I cut it into 3 slices. I put 1 slice into a loaf pan that had been lined with plastic wrap, then I covered that slice with a cup of vanilla ice cream. I sprinkled on chopped peanut butter cups, then put on a second slice of pound cake. The next layer of ice cream was chocolate, Todd's favorite. On top of that, I sprinkled some chopped chocolate candies. Then the final layer of cake goes on top, followed by a cup of chocolate chip ice cream. And for the topping, I squeezed chocolate sauce all over the top. This is the kind that hardens as soon as it hits the ice cream. Then I sprinkled on the 2 candies. I let it set for a few seconds, and then I loosely folded the plastic wrap over the cake. Then I put it into the freezer to harden, and I made a whole other cake. This cake is so simple to make, and I'll tell you how to serve it up. So you take the cake out of the freezer, lift it carefully out of the pan, peel back the plastic wrap, and voila, ice cream cake. Look at all those layers of deliciousness. This cake will make you very, very popular. Poke cakes are amazing, totally classic. I'm adding chocolate chips to a double boiler, which is nothing more than a heat-proof glass bowl over a pan of simmering water. And then I'm gonna pour in. Alex always likes to get close for these sweetened condensed milk moments.
It's a nice pour.
So you want to stir the chocolate chips and the sweetened condensed milk, and this is already heating up, and this is just a good way to heat up any kind of chocolate mixture without burning the chocolate. So I took a big old shortcut with these poke cakes because I knew I had to make 2, and I used really good quality chocolate cake box mix. So here's how you make a poke cake. Watch this, Alex. You take a wooden spoon and you basically just poke it.
Wow.
Poke holes in it. I remember Gaga, my grandmother, used to make poke cakes all the time, and she would let me pour the mixture over the cake once it was all poked. And sometimes she'd even let me poke the cake.
Wow.
Gaga was a wonderful woman. So, the cakes are poked. I'm gonna check on the chocolate chip mixture. Okay, let's cheat just a little bit. Okay, this really thin chocolatey mixture can you see?
Oh yeah.
Gets poured over the poke cake, and look, you want it to go into those holes. This looks like a dream. So that's the first cake. And look how good that looks, honey. Woo! Poke cake number 2, here we go. I would just dig into this right now. Look at that gorgeous glossiness. But a proper poke cake, in my opinion, has some kind of frosting. So, it's not the most gourmet choice, but I'm gonna make a really yummy chocolate whipped topping. And I'm starting with 2 packages of chocolate instant pudding. Don't judge me.
No judgment.
The Cowboys will be here soon. I do not have time to make a homemade pudding from scratch. And then to the pudding, I'll add some unsweetened cocoa powder. Trust me on this, it's so exciting. So this is instant pudding. And the glory of instant pudding is you just add milk and whisk. I am making a mess of the kitchen. Whisk it together. And then this is actually gonna thicken up into a luscious chocolate pudding. So this is a very intensely chocolatey mixture, and I am gonna break out the non-dairy whipped topping. I softened it overnight in the fridge, and the great thing about this stuff is it's so easy. You don't have to whip cream and sugar. And all of those cowboys out there totally grew up on this stuff, and they will absolutely love this cake. So you just want to fold it together. Okay, it's almost. Good grief, Ree. If you guys could see the floor, my clothes, under the height of this countertop, you would crack up. Okay, so look at this. Get in here. Look. Oh, bye, babe. So I will take half of this, and I actually baked the cakes earlier this morning because I wanted them to be totally cooled. And you just smear this chocolate topping all over. Now I'm gonna do the second cake, and it's gonna take me about 3 seconds. All right, chocolate overload poke cakes, 2 of them. All right, so all tiramisu has layers. So I'm gonna take the 3 layers of cake. I'll take one first. And what I did was I took the loaf pan that the cake was sold in, and then I draped some plastic wrap in over the sides, and the cake is going inside the plastic wrap. So put it cut side up, because I'm gonna grab this really yummy coffee syrup, and I'm gonna really carefully pour a third of it over the cake. And of course, you want that cake to really absorb all that incredible coffee flavor. That's what tiramisu is all about. So this beautiful cream cheese whipped cream mixture is in a big old piping bag. So I'm gonna pipe just a little zigzag layer. You don't have to get too fancy, especially since the 2 inside layers are gonna be covered up. I'm doing a speed round. And then I have some chocolate, and I'm gonna grate it onto the top of the cream mixture, just to give a nice little chocolate layer. Whoop. All right, that's good for that layer. So now I'm gonna do 2 more layers exactly like the first one. First cake, and I'll flatten it, sweetened coffee, the cream mixture, and a grating of chocolate. Then exactly the same again a final time, and it's done. The reason I put this overhang of plastic wrap in the pan is so that I can really lightly cover the tiramisu and it won't smush the top of that beautiful cream cheese topping / filling. All right, so this is gonna go in the fridge. You need to give it 4 hours at least to chill completely and let all the layers kind of become one with one another. And I happen to have a gorgeous second version so that I can show you how this is all served. But look at that, you just pull the plastic away and it's like nothing ever happened. So the second reason to have this overhang in the pan is so you can grip the sides, say a little prayer, and lift the whole cake out. There we go. So then I've got a pretty platter, depending on who you're serving it to. You don't have to put it on a platter, but it's always nice. So I'll just get the end and kind of pull the plastic wrap away as I set it on there. Goodness gracious, look at this layered tiramisu cake. That shortcut frozen pound cake is such a brilliant way to pull this cake together. So I want to show you how beautiful these layers are. Cut a nice slice. Oh gosh, that looks miraculous. It's gonna be tough to go back to the original. This is so much easier.